Hello everybody, this is Andrew Eisele. Thanks for tuning into this tutorial on arrangement tips. We are going to be taking a look at a real basic arrangement. This is the same thing that you're going to be building up in the arrangement chapter in the book. If you look on the DVD or if you're on the website, you can download a Reason song file that has the sequence elements, the real basic sequence clips that you can use for the arrangement. The book is written as if you're writing everything from scratch, but you can certainly use the pre-made MIDI clips if that helps you out. I like to start off, when I start off any kind of arrangement, I like to start off by doing the drums. Now, the drums that we're using in this are the same drums we did in the tutorial on drum sequencing. It's the same pattern anyways. I'm going to go ahead and solo this. I've already got my left and right locators set up, so I'll hit play and you'll hear it. Now you notice I've got two MIDI tracks here. One is the kick and the snare, and the other one is the hi-hat track. If we go up and look at the ReDrum kit up here, if I engage this and turn it on, you'll see pattern 1 is the kick and the snare, and pattern 2 is the hi-hat track. So you'll notice on this drum kit I have two note lanes. It's very easy to create a new note lane. All of these start off with one lane by default, but if you want to add one to add to do a layer with that particular instrument, it's very easy. You just go up to the edit menu and you do new note lane. So now we've added a third one. Again, following that same concept of what we did in that drum tutorial, I copied the patterns to the track. I first did pattern 1 onto lane 1, and then I switched over to pattern 2, and I put that on lane 2. Once I had my drums, I tend to work on the A and the B section. This sequence, this song I should say, really just has two basic parts, and what I've done is basically copied them to various different instruments, creating different types of layering. Whenever you have, say, the same MIDI sequence routed to the same, routed to two different instruments, essentially it's the same notes, but it's playing two different sounds. It just makes the sounds that much thicker and more interesting. So if we were to solo, say, the resin bass and the gangsta lead, you'll hear it's the same information that's being played. There's just the gangster lead, and that's my sub bass sound basically coming through. So if we go in and look at that, you can see that's the basic sequence for the A part, what I like to call the A part, and really just recorded that once and then made copies of it. Again, the easiest way to make a copy, at least the way I do it, is I hold down the Option key and drag. Remember to always release Option last, otherwise you just end up moving the sequence. Once I had the A section, I wanted to write a B section, so we'll go over and we'll look at that real quick. So this is our B section. So when we play these back to back, it has a nice sort of call and response, sort of the feeling that I was going for. Honestly, in my opinion, that's really the hardest thing about writing a song, is getting, the good sequence of notes, getting it to flow and to sound good. Once you have the basics of that, you can build up something very, very quickly by copying those different parts to different areas. So after I had this section, the A and the B section, I also went through and color-coded it. If you notice here, the A section's in green and the B section's in blue. By default, everything is usually all the same color, but you can switch colors very easily. Select what you want. You can even do a rubber band selection around it and go up under Edit to Color and pick a new color, like light blue. But that's what the same color was, so I'm going to undo that. We'll keep it green. Once I had those parts, like I said, it's that's really the hardest part, is getting those parts down and getting them to sound good. Then you want to start putting all of this together. As you can see here, I've got this Japan pluck, which is coming from a Maelstrom. And this is actually just the B section, and this is what I open the track with. So when you're building a track, like, you have the main meat of your song, which is the A-B section, and everything's sort of going, and it all sounds good, but you can't really start at that point. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but typically most songs have an intro. It's a part where it starts and builds over time, so that's why we're starting with this Japan pluck. Then you'll hear that's from 1 to 4, it's just that. Then at measure 5 to 9, we're adding the hi-hats. Then at measure 9, we drop in the drums. And at measure 17, that gives us a 16 bar intro. At measure 17 is where the whole song is really kicking in. I also layered additional drums. So if you notice here, we have a house kit. The house kit is just a layer of the kick and the snare that I made for the drum and bass kit. I just copied that down. So when that comes in, has much more. So that's with the house kit, and that's without the house kit. So adding those that additional layer really brings out the drums, makes it sound full and rich, which is what we're looking for. Next thing let's look at is so we have the gangster lead and the resin bass. That's sort of filling in the meat of the song, as I like to call it. You have that lead line across the top, and then our bass line. The next thing I did was to create the 5th triggers, which is this sort of arpeggiated section down below. And let's go ahead and have a listen to that. Now, I originally had it going at the beginning of our song. I'm going to unmute that real quick. You can mute by hitting the letter M. Now, I had this going throughout the whole thing, but what I found was that it was a little too busy with Japan pluck and everything else that was going on. So instead of doing that, I wound up going through and muting that section. So what we're doing is creating another type of call and response, where the Japan pluck is playing during the A section, and then the 5th triggers is playing during the B section. So in terms of what comes next, I've sort of done this. It's that first 17 through 49, which is basically 32 bars of, it's the A-B twice, essentially. This isn't the full sequence. This isn't by any means what you'll be working on. I mean, it is, but you'll hear it in the final version. You'll see a breakdown. You'll see this in the next tutorial, which will be the mixing section segment, where we'll talk about mixing techniques. But there's a big breakdown, and then the whole thing repeats again, and then it's on its way out. And when the full song comes back in, I did add an additional part, this percussion track, which is kind of cool, which you'll hear, and I hope you enjoy it. So that about wraps up this segment on arrangement tips. Hopefully you found it useful. In our next segment, we're going to take a look at mixing techniques.